Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final week of the Spring 2022 Bright Futures Career Speaker Series. The Bright Futures Career Speaker Series is an educational webinar series sponsored by the Napa County Office of Education, the Marin County Office of Education, Napa Valley College, College of Marin, and the Workforce Alliance of the North Bay. Today's presentation topic will cover law and law enforcement. As people are logging on today, I'd like to do a quick round of introductions. My name is Sita Williams, and I work for the Workforce Alliance of the North Bay. Moderating our program today is Alex Jones from College of Marin. And also on this team, but currently on an airplane, is Angela Higdon from the Napa County Office of Education. Presenting today, we have Carolina Wiegers from the Napa County District Attorney's Office, Allison Haley from the Napa County District Attorney's Office, and actually she is the district attorney, Ronnie Galindo from the Napa County Sheriff's Office, and Marissa Stevenson from the Solano County Probation. Before we get started with today's speakers, I'm going to do some quick housekeeping so that we're all on the same page throughout the webinar. We will be recording this webinar. So you ask, why are we offering a speaker series? Well, first, we'd like to introduce you to some of our local and national professional experts. In this case, they're all local. To introduce you to jobs that you may not have heard about before. And we'd like to help you to make informed decisions about the next steps on your career path, whether you are a student or a job seeker. So what to expect today? The presentation hour will include an introduction, like we're doing right now, speaker panel discussion time, and question and answer time. Please use the chat function of the webinar to ask your questions. We will repeat the questions out loud to the speakers. And with that, I'd like to hand the microphone to you, Alex.
Thank you, Sita, and welcome everybody again. And we're just gonna dive in and just get started. We have a great group for everybody today. And I'm just gonna go in order by, I guess, how the boxes are, on the screen. So we'll start with you, Marissa. Sita just introduced you to the group. Can you tell us a little bit more about your organization and your role within that organization? And you're on mute right now.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Marissa Stevenson. I'm a deputy probation officer with Solano County Probation Department. Here at probation, we kind of wear two hats. So we are law enforcement, and we also have the social work side of our position. With our department, we are protecting and serving the community. We're conducting investigations for the court. We're holding clients accountable, enforcing court orders, supporting victims with any victim restitution, and providing safe, secure, and effective detention with our juvenile hall facility. In my role, I currently work with adult general supervision, and my caseload is currently about 60 to 70 people. And my supervision caseload is actually a little bit different than others in the department, as I have clients who are all out of county residents. So our client, or the clients that I handle, typically reside outside of Solano County. So I provide them with supervision pending, transferring out to their local probation departments. I also supervise misdemeanor cases and also out-of-state cases. So within our department, there are a variety of different units that we have, as well as positions. And that can be from facilitating classes through our CPC programs, which provides social services, provides educational services for clients, ways to make up a resume, and a whole sorts of programs for clients. And then we also have, our PRCS group, which would be the post-release community supervision for clients who have been released from prison custody. So we do have a variety of different units that we have within our department. And I kind of gave you the extreme to the less extreme to kind of give you that idea overall, like there's really an opportunity for anything within the probation department here, and any probation department. There's a variety of ways that we handle different clients.
Thank you, Marissa. And Allison, same question. Floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Allison Haley. I am the district attorney here in Napa County. Basically, I run the largest law firm in Napa County. We have just under 80 employees. We handle all criminal prosecutions that occur from American Canyon to Calistoga. We also handle consumer environmental claims, workman's comp claims, all kinds of malfeasance that might go on within our county. I am the elected district attorney, which means that I am not only making decisions about overarching policy, how we deal with particularized cases, I'm also doing incredibly boring things. Well, to me, boring, like budgets and handling HR issues and making sure that we have particular MOUs or documents with other agencies affiliated with our office. So a lot of you might know a district attorney because we're in the news a lot or have an idea about the office or watch television shows. Those are about 10% accurate, and I'm sure everyone in law enforcement could probably say that. But days at the district attorney's office are incredibly varied, and I'm sure over the course of the hour, you'll hear that from everyone here about our daily responsibilities to our citizens here in Napa, or in Solano, excuse me.
Thank you, Allison. Carolina?
Hi there, I'm Carolina Wiegers. I am an investigator for the Napa County District Attorney's Office. So that is my boss right there, Allison Haley. I work closely with all of the prosecutors. I am basically a police officer within the District Attorney's Office. So the only difference between me and a police officer that you might see out on the streets is we don't actually go on patrol. We don't have uniforms. We are an investigations unit exclusively, and we work closely with the prosecutors, doing follow-up, assisting all the other agencies in investigations, and anything that we may need to do to prepare a case for court is gather evidence, document statements, look for more witnesses, whatever needs to get done to kind of prepare cases. Is what we do.
Thank you, Carolina. And Ronnie.
Deputy Ronnie Galindo with Napa County Sheriff's Office. Here at the Sheriff's Office, we're basically the front lines. We bring the clients to either Ms. Haley's office or over to probation here in Napa County. And we just uphold the law. We have several different functions that we have here in the Sheriff's Office, the courts. We work the courts, we do patrol. We're also deputy coroners. And so unfortunately we handle dead bodies, but we get a lot of training and everything. And so we are just there to make sure everyone's safe and can sleep peacefully in their beds at night.
Thank you, Ronnie. And I'm going to stay with you on this one, Ronnie, and work our way back. If you could talk a little bit about your day-to-day. It's kind of like what Allison was saying. It's not like a TV show. I just started watching Designated Survivor, which I was like, the president does a lot, in that show. And but yeah, Ronnie, for your day-to-day, can you start off and just kind of walk us through, even today, you walked in, I don't know if you clocked in, and bam, what happened?
So that's, and here I go. Of course, I get to go dark. So that's the glory about my job. That's one of the, in my opinion, best characteristics is no day is the same. And so when we go in service, what we call 10-8, it can vary. We can have a hot call right away, which could be a burglary in progress, could be an assault happening that we need to get to that we're going to put our lights and sirens on, or it could be coffee with everyone on the team and kind of start the day together and go through a briefing. It all depends. So like today I had to sub in at Camille Creek High School as their school resource officer, just because our school resource officer is on vacation. And so I'm part of our problem-oriented policing unit. So we kind of fill in where needed. And so I logged in and got to be a school resource officer today. So it varies day to day.
Thank you, Ronnie. And Carolina, what about your day?
So kind of the same thing. And we have, it can go anywhere from, we're starting a brand new trial and we need to be bringing witnesses over or organizing who's testifying that day, trying to make sure everybody assisting the prosecutors and making sure that people are where they're supposed to be. If we're testifying, then we're looking over our documents or what it is we need to bring to court with us. If we're training, like today, we were training in the morning, so we spent most of the day at range training with our weapons. Sometimes it can be just like you mentioned, having coffee in the morning together, kind of catching up, briefing each other on what's going on. Or it can be some major incident happen and we immediately get sent out to assist whatever agency needs help, whether it's Napa PD, whether it's the sheriff's department. They kind of gather all the detectives, all the investigators, and send us out to whatever is needed at the scene, whether it's writing search warrants, whether it's executing the search warrants, whether it's contacting witnesses or going out of the county to do more follow-up on something that's related here. It could be something like, for example, I have a special assignment called the Child Abduction Unit. And that it deals a lot with like custody issues, parents taking children from another parent. So I could come in on a day and somebody could come in and say, my child's been taken by the other parent and they're off to another country. And then I have to start trying to stop that and investigate that process. So no one day, just like the deputy said, no one day is exactly the same. It could be something high intensity, or it could be, very, very calm in the morning, very calm day.
Thank you. And yeah, Allison, same thing.
So I'm a lawyer, so I am wildly less interesting and as exciting as those of people in traditional law enforcement. The first thing I do when I come into the office, I'm usually in the office between 7:30 and 8:30, is I look to see who was arrested last night. We are on as a lawyer working in criminal cases, we're always looking for when our time starts to run. So if I have someone in custody, I have 48 hours to make a filing decision as to whether or not we're going to press charges or not. The common misperception that police press charges, actually it's the district attorney's office that press charges. I want to make sure that cases that require special attention get them, that I am apprised of what's going on in the county and I review those things. And then I look at my email, and as the elected district attorney, I literally get hundreds of emails a day. Sometimes they are from crime survivors. Sometimes they are from the community to do things like this, which is explain to the community what it is we do at the office. And then I really take an appraisal of what's going on in the office. Do we have trials going on? What do we have going on? And where are our resources and where are they going? Sometimes both Carolina and Deputy Galindo talked about critical incidents. There are occasions when I get called out to a critical incident, or I will be attending an autopsy, or I will be doing sort of more in the field work. The higher I have gotten in my office, the fewer times I am out doing that, which breaks my heart sometimes, because that's the fun stuff, if I can say that. Not that an autopsy is fun, but it's the kind of on the scene, working with law enforcement, making decisions in the field, is a more sort of precise way of saying that, I guess. So days are very different, even at the district attorney's office, but a little less exciting than our traditional law enforcement.
Thank you. And Marissa.
So for us, it can vary as well, kind of traditional to everybody, all the other law enforcement departments. So in regards to our days, we schedule appointments with clients. Now that could be the clients having to check into our office, or that could require us going to do home visits. Now, when we are out conducting home visits, we always go with a partner. And sometimes we pair up with our local sheriff's office and other agencies as well, to be able to provide outside resources in the client's environment. In the field, it could become dangerous, or things can unexpectedly occur. So, just like Ronnie was saying, anything can happen when you're out in the field. As far as our office visits, pretty much there's normally no issues in the office. Clients will come in, they have to check in through security. They check in with their probation officer, and with that meeting is just conversation. And a lot of times it's pretty easygoing. However, there are times that clients are escalated. And so being able to de-escalate the situation while you're in the office conversing with the clients is important. But that's something that we could potentially deal with having clients come into the office. Aside from that, we also conduct investigations. So our court unit does court reports. So a lot of their day-to-day duties is making recommendations to the court, reading over penal codes, making sure that they're making recommendations based on the rules of court. So, overall, in any unit in probation, there could be a difference in what your day kind of looks like. It could be in the field all the time. It could be in the office a lot of the time. And for me personally, I'm generally in the office and clients typically come and meet me. I do have a lot of phone appointments and Zoom appointments with clients because of them residing out of county. So that's something that's a little different than normal or other probation officers here in my department, is that I do have those meetings virtually a lot of times, just because transportation can sometimes be an issue. And I mean, generally it's just, making sure that clients are checking in, they're abiding by their terms and conditions, and providing them with any resources or services that they require. And then the last thing would be contacting victims. There's times that we have to contact victims to obtain any insight information from them, so that way we can pursue any victim restitution on behalf of the victim.
Thank you. And I'm going to continue with you, Marissa, and this is the next question for the group. And thank you for sharing your day-to-day and everything, your roles and everything. You guys, everybody has a lot on their plate. You guys do a lot, so thank you. So when did you decide you wanted to work in this industry? Can you tell us a little bit about like your journey to get, to, probation officer, district attorney, investigator, deputy sheriff? Just, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your journey. And we'll start with you, Marissa, and work our way back.
Sure. So I actually wanted to be in some type of law enforcement at a young age. I had a lack of guidance and support as a child, and sometimes the decisions that were made weren't always the best. And that was something that helped me pursue a career in law enforcement, because I knew that I wanted to be a person to provide guidance and support to others. And so for me, that's kind of what drove me into law enforcement. And as far as my experience, as a little background, is I started out as an intern with Napa County Probation, working with juveniles. And from there, I started working as a juvenile hall counselor with Napa County. And then obviously from there, I became a probation officer here in Solano. So, it's working your way towards, something that you enjoy. And I enjoyed working with juveniles in the beginning and working in the detention facility. And then, going into the adult probation world has been, even more, interesting. And it's been an experience, but it's all for the same reasons of, wanting to be able to provide that support that a lot of probationers don't have.
Thank you. And Allison, yeah, we'll go to you next.
So I knew I wanted to be a lawyer in college, but I grew up, my dad was in prison when I was growing up, and I lived in a household with a lot of mental illness and a lot of addiction issues. I won the genetic bingo by not having crippling depression or addictions, really. So I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. I actually went to law school thinking I was going to be a public defender. That was all of my internships were at the public defender's office and so forth. And as I moved through the industry, I found that if I really wanted to influence the system and if I really wanted to be in a position to change policy, it's the district attorney's office where you go to do that as a public defender. And that's not to demean public defenders or defense attorneys. Their legal obligation is to be a zealous advocate for their client. And as a district attorney, I am the representative of the people of the state of California, and I have the ability in my discretion to make policy and so forth. So my interest in the field came from lots of trips to prison. My mom and I were homeless for a number of years because the government had asset forfeiture. They had taken our house and our property and so forth. So I was very interested in how incarceration affected the American family. Becoming the elected DA is kind of a different path. So I ended up at a district attorney's office. And when my predecessor was retiring, I had no aspiration to be the elected district attorney. But the people who wanted the job at the time, in my opinion, were not deeply moral or measured or temperate people. And I can't work for a DA who is not measured and temperate and is not prone to temper tantrums. Not that I have not had my own temper tantrums, I'm sure Carolina could tell you, but I couldn't work in that capacity. And so I will admit, very reluctantly became the head of the department. I was very happy in my office with my door shut, handling my own cases. I found it very fulfilling and I think I was very good at it. But sometimes positions of leadership come and you have to step up because it's the right thing to do at the time, because my desire for a private life and to not be a public person, the work simply became more important than that for me. And so I'm the elected district attorney. Don't mishear me. I get tremendous amount of satisfaction for my job, but it was not, being the boss is not that great in many ways. And it was a decision that I came to quite reluctantly.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison. And Carolina?
So I knew I wanted to be a police officer since I think I was born. I just always remember that's what I wanted to do. And I grew up in Napa. And when I was in just a little bit before high school, I discovered that the Napa Police Department had a cadet program. And it was a program for teenagers to learn about law enforcement and becoming a police officer. So I became a cadet for the Napa Police Department, and I spent all of my high school completely dedicated to that and to choir at my school. And I had incredible amounts of mentorship from many, many police officers at Napa PD. I thank them so much for being such a great support to me. They guided me through high school. I went to Sonoma State after I graduated from high school. I didn't quite feel like it was the place for me to be. I was very concentrated on being a police officer. So I didn't want to mess up. I didn't want to have any of the fun that was being had because I was very worried about my background, making sure that I could always be at the standard that I saw the officers being at when I grew up. So money was not very, very tight in our family. I come from a single parent home. My sister was in school, so we sort of couldn't really afford to have two of us going to school. And I decided to stop going to Sonoma State after 2 years and go straight to the academy. So I went to the academy in '99. I graduated. I got hired at the Calistoga Police Department, and I was there for 16 years. During that time, I had the opportunity to be one of 2 officers that was assigned to a major crimes task force that Napa County has. And so that's kind of what I was mentioning, where we all kind of get together, kind of like Avengers assemble and go out and do things. Oh, there goes my leg too. And so I had the opportunity to meet DA investigators that were working at the DA's office at the time, and got to know a lot of them very well. And there was one of them that was retiring at one point, and she said to me, "You need to take my spot." And she encouraged me to apply for the position. I actually hadn't thought about it at all, or ever thought that I would be here, but it so happened that the day that the position closed to apply was the very same day that she called me, because I had been on my days off. And so I said, okay, I'm going to try to put this together. And if I manage to get all of the things that I need to apply for this job, then so be it. We'll see what happens. And I was able to get through that process and get an interview and come here to the DA's office and be an investigator.
Thank you. Sounds like that was destined to be. So like, the stars were aligned on that one.
They were aligned.
Thank you, Carolina. And Ronnie.
Well, mine started off with a car crash. I was the driver of a car crash that I ended up putting one of my good friends in the hospital. And while we were on scene, we had crashed into a tree, and a sheriff's deputy pulled up. He was just patrolling a beat. We were out in the county, and he was so worried about our well-being and just so concerned for our safety and health that it instilled in me the want to do the same thing for other people, to be there kind of at their darkest hour or their lowest point and help people. And from that day forward, I wanted to be law enforcement, specifically Napa County Sheriff, because that's who helped me. And so I went through the college, got my associate's degree, and was turning 21. And basically there was no trainee positions, and every department looked at me and said, "You don't have enough life experience." So I decided to join the military, went into the Air Force, and was shipped out, deployed twice, worked on the weaponry systems on a couple fighter jets, and then circled back around and ended up coming back to California after being stationed in Alaska for my last 2 years there. And the Napa Sheriff's was hiring. So I applied, first round, didn't get picked. There was a lot of applicants at that time. This was roughly about 6 years ago, when apparently everybody wanted to be a police officer. And so out of the 300 and some people, I made the top 10, but didn't get chosen. And so then I decided to reapply the next year and ended up getting picked up as a trainee, getting paid to go through the academy, had my academy paid for, and now I'm here.
Thank you. And I'm gonna remix this a little bit here, because we had a student ask a question, and I honestly, and I know Cedar, I know you get these inquiries a lot. Forensic psychologist. Okay, so we have a lot of students who are like, I want to go into forensic psychology. Okay, and this is open to any of the panelists. Have any of you worked with forensic psychologists? What does their day-to-day look like? If a person wants to, kind of navigate or find opportunities within those spaces, like any advice? Because we get a lot of those. Maybe like everybody loves CSI and they see what the forensic psychologist does. But if any of you guys can, any insight on that, that would be huge, because students have expressed a lot of interest in that occupation. And this is open to anybody.
So I'll take that one. Napa County is very unique. We are one of 5 counties in California that has a state hospital, a state mental facility at Napa State Hospital. So our office has a lot of very close relationships with forensic psychologists and so forth that work at Napa State Hospital. My advice would be for those students to talk to a forensic psychologist, because I'm here to tell you, that is really a front row seat to a lot of suffering. It's a lot of suffering and a lot of stories that sound cool when you're listening to a criminal true crime podcast, but is very different when you are living day to day in a world and your daily work is meeting with and treating these patients and presenting that work to the court. I know it sounds cool, but I'm here to tell you, I'm 25 years into this industry, and I am just now realizing that I should have been doing a lot more therapy and a lot more yoga and a lot more praying, because it will catch up to you. And I'm not saying that to dissuade you. I'm saying that I know that when you're young, you think that nothing is ever going to affect you, but that is a front row. And for as an example, we just had a gentleman in custody, a long-term patient of forensic psychology. And the reason that he was in custody was because he raped an infant. That is the reality of that kind of work. And that is a very special personality type. So I know that sounds a little extreme, but Carolina, Ron, all of us can say, we've seen those cases, we see them all the time, and we will, all of us will pay a price for doing that kind of daily work.
Thank you, Allison. Anybody else? Any other additional insights to forensic psychology before we move to the next question? Okay, perfect. Well, thanks, Allison, for touching on that. And it's funny, it's like you might have read my mind, it's the segue into the next piece. What are the key personality traits and skills required for success in your occupation? So we're going to go back to Ronnie and work our way back. So yeah, Ronnie, key personality traits and skills required for success in your occupation.
The biggest one that we always tell trainees when they're on the FTO program, which is the field training program, is be decisive. You need to make a decision, because in the moment you control the scene. So even though I'm only a deputy sheriff, when I get to the scene, if I'm first on scene, I control that scene. And so I have to be confident, I have to be decisive, and I have to be a problem solver, because my cover unit or anybody else coming, they could be a few minutes away or they could be 40 minutes away. And so I have to make a plan and make it quick so that everyone can stay safe. Not only that, I have to be a team player, because I have to collaborate with not only the sheriff's department, but possibly Napa PD, probation, the DA's office. I may need to go to different resources. And so I need to be able to work with everybody and understand what they do as well. And the last thing that I love to harp on, and I believe that we have to have as law enforcement, is heart. Some drive in us, the why we do this, because without heart, you're not going to be able to survive in this career field. And so here at the sheriff's office, we do a lot of defensive tactics. And at the end of that training, you're actually put through the gauntlet of fighting for 5 to 6 minutes. And it's not a test of your ability, because we have people come in with different abilities. It's a test of your heart. And if you're willing to go through that whole process and survive and be able to push through the hardship. And so that would probably be our top key traits here for the sheriff's office.
Thank you, Ronnie. And I like how this group is keeping it real. Let's do that. Let's keep it real. And Carolina, yes, please.
Well, a lot of the same things that Ronnie said, but on my end, so Ronnie would be the first responder, and I am the person that kind of follows up on everything that they do, that they were able to do, whether they were not able to do something on the scene, for example. A lot of the key things that I deal with is having a lot of patience. There's a lot of people that want a lot of help when the action is happening, when the danger is there, when all the emotions are high, when they're angry or when they're scared. But a year from when the incident happened, they're a lot less motivated, or they have moved on, or they are too scared to continue the process. They are confused. That for many, many, many reasons, a lot of patience is needed to kind of help people go through the entire process of when the call started to getting to a final moment where a jury trial is happening and it's over and we have some kind of outcome to the actual case. So it's a lot of patience, a lot of curiosity, trying to figure out why things are happening, why my victim is scared, why do I sense hesitance, what are other ways that I can go about resolving this without putting too much pressure on witnesses and other things. Can I get better evidence? Is there something I missed? Is there some other key way that I can help in this investigation, or to take this, all the way through to where we need to be? Just a lot of that, a lot of patience, a lot of love of the community. I live here and I'm curious about what I see. If I see something, if I'm hearing something in news, I want to follow up on it. I want to see what the officers did. I come in, I check on the reports, I read, how they handled something, or if I know that I have a certain skill, I'll call the officers and say, hey, do you guys need more information about that thing, because I dealt with it. Or I know about this person, or I have got some history that might be helpful to you. So interest in your community, interest in keeping it safe. My family lives here, my friends live here. So I want to make sure that I do my very best, or do whatever I can to keep my community safe.
Thank you, Carolina. And Allison, personality trait skills required for district attorney?
Number one, you have to be deeply moral. You have to be always willing to do the right thing, no matter if someone's looking or not looking. And boy, you see the results of it in our current news cycle when prosecutors aren't led by a commitment to being deeply moral. And second, I think a very good prosecutor is a scholar. You are someone who loves the law, I literally at different times in my life have had on my nightstand next to my bed, a copy of the evidence code. And I read it before I go to bed. And that makes me the world's biggest nerd. But it is really a commitment to putting on cases, to following the letter of the law. And being a very good lawyer means you love words, and words mean things. And if you have to prove this and that, or this or that, those are two different things. And being the one in the room, you don't have to be the smartest, you don't have to be the cleverest, but you have to be the one who knows the most about the law and about the facts as it's applied. The district attorney has a different ethical obligation. Remember, the defense attorney is there to be a zealous advocate for the client. The people are there to ensure that the just thing happens. That's not only representing the people of the state of California, it's making sure the judge is doing the right thing, calling out if you see ineffective assistance of counsel on the defense side. We have a bigger job, and it requires very good prosecutors are very good scholars of the law.
Thank you, Allison, especially some light reading before bed. Appreciate it. No, thank you, Allison. And Marissa, yes, personality traits, probation.
Yeah, so kind of what I mentioned a little bit earlier is as a probation officer, you have to be able to we wear a lot of hats, but the main two that we typically have to wear is the enforcer side, which is, enforcing laws and enforcing terms and conditions and things like that. But you also have to have that social work side where, you have that ability to talk to people and to provide them that support and guidance. And one of the key things I would say is, having leadership skills, because it really takes a lot of will and desire to want to help other people. And if you're there, just to do another job, that's not going to get to help anybody. So, you really want to have that drive and desire to want to provide that support and guidance, because that's what you enjoy doing. And not to mention, being a motivator. A lot of our work is motivating people to change, breaking up the habits that they form, committing crimes throughout their entire life, or, being raised to have to commit crimes to live. There's a lot to that to get somebody to change their ways. And as a probation officer, it's a big thing to be able to help with that motivation and guide them on the right path. So that way you can teach them also, what are the right ways. So that way you can prevent having to, commit crimes to live your daily life. So I think it's important, to have a lot of those motivation skills. Communication is extremely important. And always respecting one another. Just because you have a probationer in front of you doesn't mean they're any different than you and I. They may have made a split decision that, may have not been the decision we would have made, but that's the decision that led them to where they're at currently. That doesn't make them any different than us. So just being able to have that open mind and have, again, what Ronnie was saying, is have that heart, because it really does take a lot of heart to be in the field that you're in. And you're going to see and hear a lot of things that are very traumatizing, are very sad, and things that, sometimes you just want to, hug your probation officer or your probationer and say, it's okay. It's okay to be emotional, and it's okay to let your guard down. Because unfortunately, a lot of our clients go through trauma, and being that person that they can talk to is an important aspect of being a probation officer.
Thank you. And I'm going to remix this next question here. So the next question is it's focused on like salary range and like workforce needs. So, post pandemic, some occupations, there's in demand, there's workforce shortages, there's new emerging occupations and such within your departments. Could you possibly, just spend a little time, just talk about salary range and kind of workforce needs within like your various departments? And I'll start off with you, Marissa.
So we start off at, so as an entry-level deputy probation officer, meaning you have no experience, you just have your bachelor's degree. We start off at approximately $5,000 a month. Now that can go all the way up to $9,500 a month as a supervising deputy probation officer. And as far as like the pandemic, we've actually haven't had much of an issue with our department. We are continuously hiring right now anyways. And so we're open, we always have, or we have positions open for students or others to apply. The educational requirement as an entry level would just be to obtain your bachelor's degree in some sort of criminal justice. But we also have internship programs. So, we invite those to apply. The information's all on our website online. And we do offer, internships within our department as well. They are unpaid, but they are internships. That way you can kind of understand a little bit more of what we do behind the scenes and within our department.
Thank you, Marissa. And Allison, same question, even like what Marissa was talking about in terms of like internships, different opportunities, because one of the students asked about like internships within the industry. So yeah, anything related towards internships, workforce, salary range. It's all yours.
Sure. So the district attorney's office offers what we call 1L and 2L summers, and those are your first and second summer when you're in law school. They call it your 1L summer and your 2L summer. So we will take law students for their summer. We also take post-bar clerks as they come in. We do the interviews at the particularized law schools. I have made exceptions where I have had interns in the office. Usually they're with our victim witness organization for people in college, or I had one who was seeking a PhD. So those are particularized. I don't typically allow people under the age of 18 into the district attorney's office. And the reasons for that are obvious. We have, for example, a sexual assault unit that prosecutes child pornography. We have different confidentiality issues, and we have things here that are simply not appropriate for those under the age of 18. You asked another thing. I was actually laughing. I did not know how much I made until I literally was looking it up while Marissa was speaking. So I make $250,000 because I'm the elected district attorney. District attorneys can go all the way up to just under 200,000, usually starting at around 140. Understand though, that is a lot of money. It absolutely is a lot of money. It is also, law school is very, very expensive. Most people do not pay for law school or have their families pay for law school. So you're countering the amount of money that you're making versus the amount of student loan debt that you're carrying. I know a lot about student loan debt. I paid it off in the last 10 years, but it took me a very long time to do that. I went to college, grad school, and law school. So I had a lot of things going on that way. During the pandemic, we've had difficulty recruiting, mostly because Napa County is such an expensive place to live. I, in fact, hired a victim witness advocate and hoping that she's able to start this summer. She has not been able to find any place to live. So housing is a very big impediment to being able to recruit and retain here in Napa County. And then there's all different, within the district attorney's office, there are lawyers and there's clerical staff and there's fiscal staff. So there's a lot of different kind of staff members whose salaries are completely variable.
Thank you. And yes, attendees, just an FYI, the interest rates have gone up too. So that's another thing to calculate right there. Just putting that out there. So as the students are on here, you're looking at wages, you're looking at like housing, you got to look at these interest rates. When they're talking about interest rates, it's a thing. Just wanted to throw that out there. But Carolina, yes, same question.
So I had to do the same and look up the salary range, and it looks like the salary range is 116,000 to about 140 at the very top step annually. And unfortunately, there is no entry level DA investigator position. By the time you get here, you have to have had a minimum of 10 years of investigations to even apply to be a DA investigator. So your only way of getting experience is to go through the academy. That's a requirement to be a law enforcement officer for that period of time, and have, the training, the investigative training and experience that is required. So there is no internship programs. I have been a part of different mentorships and things like that with high school students in the past. And so that's been one way that I've been able to connect with community members, people in the at the high school level. But there's no internship or anything that you can do as a DA investigator. It's a big process until the point you get here.
Thank you, Carolina. And Ronnie, yeah, salary range, workforce. I think you guys have a cadet program, like anything that comes by.
Yeah, so we do, instead of a cadet program, we have a trainee program. I kind of mentioned it earlier. It's where you go through some of our tests, which are similar to the ones that you need to get into the academy anyway. And if you go through our background and pass everything to include a polygraph test, you'll be hired as a deputy sheriff trainee. The deputy sheriff trainee salary is $85,675 a year. Obviously, you usually aren't hired in that position for a full year just because you're going to go through the academy. The academy takes roughly 6 months. And so after that time, you are promoted if you successfully pass the academy to a deputy 1, which is a probationary deputy. And that salary is $89,918. Then after your probation, which takes about a year, you then are what's considered a deputy 2, which is currently what I'm at. And your salary is $99,236. And now that's the base step 1. Obviously, with education, with any type of bilingual speak or anything like that, you get incentives, or if you get into special assignments, obviously those usually don't happen your first few years, but you'll get some incentives as well. So you could be well over $100,000 in our career after you get off probation.
Thank you. And I'm just gonna ask a question to the group here. One of the students said, what would be a major you would recommend for a career in criminal law? So one question I wanted to ask, I guess a broader question is like degrees for your different areas. What type of degrees should the students be pursuing? And like for criminal law specifically, I imagine it's law school. Yeah, whatever degrees or any insights you have around the educational component, just feel free to put it out there.
So to become a lawyer, so you need the traditional answer, there's exceptions to everything, but the traditional way that you do it is a 4-year degree. And then you go to law school. Law school is 3 years. The first year, you are taking the exact same classes as everyone else in any other law school, anywhere in the country. Your last 2 years, your second and third year are all electives. I suggest that you take the classes of the subjects that are going to be on the bar exam, because when you graduate from law school, you are not a lawyer. You are not a lawyer. You have got to take a state bar exam and pass it before you are a lawyer. So that is a total of 7 years plus studying for the bar exam and taking the bar exam. I went to undergraduate. I then did a master's degree because during that time, my dad was released from prison and I wanted to see him. And then I went to law school after that graduate school program. You're on mute, or I'm on mute. One of us is on mute.
No, I was on mute. You think we've been doing this for so long. I know where the mute button is. but somebody put in the box like a degree in criminology, forensic science, psychology, maybe criminal justice. Does that help with in other areas like probation as well? Or
you know what, law schools are looking for diversity. So if you go in there and you're a kinesiology student and you want to go to law school, yay. Really, they're looking for a broad range of wide variety of interests. So take something that you're interested in. There used to be like a pre-law major. They don't have that anymore. I was a philosophy major. I look at that now. If my daughter came home and said she wanted to be a philosophy major at a private college, I would tell her to get out of town. I am not spending all that money for a philosophy major. It really doesn't matter. It's very different today. Take what you're interested in. Make sure that if you're going to law school or you want to be a trial lawyer, take an anatomy class, take a physics class. You learn about bullets and ricochet and how cars move and force and velocity. Take anatomy, anatomy, physics, and an improv class. If you are going to do trials, you need to be able to think on your feet and act like, oh, I expected the witness to say that, even if you did not. So you need to yes and your way through jury trials. So an improv class, an anatomy class, and a physics class, and pick whatever major you want.
Thank you. Any of the other panelists, any insights around the educational component?
I'd like to say for probation, we are looking for people who have bachelor's degrees in some form of criminal justice. And we are actually starting to look more towards, psychology and sociology as well. Again, that's that social work aspect. But typically you generally want to have some type of degree in some form of criminal justice.
Thank you. And we're coming up on time, so I'm going to ask one more question. It's kind of like our end of the day question here. Advice you would give your younger self or someone interested in working in this industry now that you've been in the field. You're like, man, had I known that gem this would have happened or this would have been different. So we'll start off with Marissa. Or what you look like you were thinking about it. We'll start off with Ronnie. Ronnie, go ahead and start us off, or whoever wants to start us off first.
That's fine. I can start us off. If I were to give myself any advice, it would be go on ride-alongs. Go on ride-alongs so that you can actually see what we do. Because if you are an applicant or you want to be an applicant, we'll take you on a ride-along. You get to see what we do. You get to see if this is right for you, because we've already had a lot of people come through our department. And once they got to that actual question of why do I want to do this? They didn't want to do this. And so they spent all that time and effort and went through everything and then decided they didn't want to be a deputy sheriff. And so go on ride-alongs, make sure this is for you, and really harden down your why.
Thank you, Ronnie. Yeah, definitely. Because you also, for the students, you don't want to go there, pay that, amount for like tuition and then realize, oh no, I didn't want to do that. And you got this degree. So you definitely, like Ronnie was saying, do those ride-alongs, participate in those before you make that move. Carolina, what about yourself?
So I have to say that I'm incredibly blessed. I had the opportunity to do the ride-alongs and to figure out that this is truly what I wanted to do. So if I had only one advice to give myself is at the time that I was graduating from high school, there was a big push for everybody to go to 4-year. You got to go to the 4-year. You got to go to the 4-year. I wish I had never gone to the 4-year. I wish I would have stayed locally. I wish I would have stayed at the junior college here in Napa. I think that would have gone better with my personality, with my goals, and it was sort of like an unnecessary step that I put myself through, only because I was worried about what others would think if I didn't follow a certain path. So I would say to myself, stay here, continue, to do your cadet program, continue to, down the path that you want to go through, and don't take that unnecessary step.
Thank you, Carolina. And shout out community colleges. So just an FYI, College of Marin is #1 in transfer rate in the state of California, but that's okay. I'll put that article in there later on. But no, the community colleges, I'd highly encourage students, take a look at that. You're still taking the GEs, you're still going to transfer. We have students transfer to UC Berkeley who go to College of Marin. Shout out College of Marin. But yes, definitely take your time to explore, the different education opportunities or alternatives that are available for you. And Allison, yes. Any last takeaways that you want to share?
I am clearly the oldest person on this panel, so this is going to absolutely show my age. But if I would tell myself to stop looking for work-life balance. It's not going to be balanced. There are times when I'm in a murder trial where I am 100% in that murder trial, and other things, they're not getting my attention. My house is dirty, my husband is hungry, and my kid hasn't seen me. There are other times, like when I took my kid to Disneyland, that we are all in. We are eating churros and we are getting the ears and we are doing this idea that everything has got to be balanced. I think that really hinders people from being fully invested. Do the work. When you're at work, do the work 100%, but do the other stuff too. It's not going to be balanced, and that's okay.
Thank you, Allison. And Marissa.
I think so. I actually was a transfer student from from Napa College, actually, and went over to Sac State. So my best advice is, if you can start at the community college, start at the community college. Get your general ed done and kind of dive into what the different fields. So for example, I started taking criminal justice classes at the Napa College. I found that I was even more interested, and that's actually how I got involved with the internship. So if you have that opportunity to do a cadet program, to do an internship, do it, because again, you're going to get a foot in to kind of see behind the scenes what actually that profession entails. And I think it's important, if you're going to go into that career field, get that experience in and really take it in and determine, is this right for me or is it not? But that's my 2 cents. And if you get into any kind of career in law enforcement, really really enjoy, really take in all the experiences, because there's different things that can get thrown at you. So really take it in and learn from it, and hopefully you find something that you enjoy.
Thank you, Marissa. And shout out Sac State. I just want to say that go Hornets. I got my bachelor's degree and my MSW there. Yeah, go Hornets. My sister Hornet over here, right on. But no, thank you everybody for taking time out of your day. I know you guys have a crazy schedule. I want to take time, to say thank you again. And if any of the students or anybody on the call has any additional questions, feel free to email it over to us. We'll send them out and try to get those answered for you. But yeah, let's just give everybody, round of applause. We can't see you, but we
Thank
can.
you.
The vibes are there.
Yeah.
And yeah, Sita, anything else to close us off?
Well, I just, piggybacking on what you just said, Alex, thank you to each of you for participating in our final episode of the Career Speaker Series this semester. We know that you all have very busy jobs, and so it means a lot to us that you took the time out to share your experience with us, so that maybe we can all make informed decisions about our next steps. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful dinner. I'll stay online for anybody who might have questions or needs a follow-up, but otherwise, have a nice night, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.